This week in Ottawa Business Journal's Behind the Headlines, the ups and downs of running a small business in a second state of emergency, a retail segment that's gliding to record sales, and an immigrant entrepreneur looks to pay it forward. All this and more coming up right now. Hello and welcome to Behind the Headlines for the week ending January 15th, 2021. I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Behind the Headlines is a regular podcast from OBJ to explore the most read headlines of the recent period. For the first time in 2021, I'd like to welcome my two colleagues, Peter Cavesi and David Sally. Hello to you both and all the best for 2021. Dave, we're going to start off with you. Of course, the story of the week is certainly the second state of emergency and what that means for local business. What were you hearing from local entrepreneurs and business operators this week, Dave?
Well, Mike, as you can imagine, they're not necessarily overly pleased with the new restrictions under the stay-at-home order for the next at least 28 days. You can go shopping. There's curbside pickup, but really it's a pretty widespread crackdown on most businesses. But as Mark Kaluski says, he's the chair of the Ottawa Coalition of Business Improvement Areas. It's not necessarily these rules aren't necessarily applied evenly in his mind. He's wondering why the Walmarts and the Costcos of the world, the big box stores, are still allowed to be open and sell just about everything they want. He says, if only groceries, if you're only supposed to be buying things like groceries, why are they selling everything? They should only be allowed to sell essential items. He thinks that's unfair. There's all kinds of questions about the government, encouraging people to stay home, and yet they're still allowing for curbside pickup. So, should people be going out or not? So there's, a lot of issues in that regard. And speaking of perceived unfairness, I also talked last week to some ski hill operators who really feel the same way, that they're wondering, why their business is being singled out, essentially. Like they're, tobogganing hills are open, the canal is going to be open. Ski hills are not being open. Meanwhile, over just across the river in Quebec, those hills are open, albeit with a little tighter restrictions now due to the curfew. But still, the operators like Calabogie Peaks, they say they're losing millions of dollars in potential revenue, and they just call it a devastating situation. And all they can do is just that hope we flatten the curve and basically that we get back to some sense of being able to lift some of these restrictions so that they can at least try and make some money this season.
I can't imagine how tough it is for Calabogie Peaks. When I saw that revenue number, I don't remember exactly, but it was in the millions of dollars, as you indicated, Dave. Whoa. That is a big impact. So let's hope, at some point they'll be open soon. Peter, let's bring you into the conversation to get your take on this latest crackdown and restrictive measures.
Well, it was a comment from Steve Ball, the head of the Ottawa Gatineau Hotel Association, that he made actually to Dave this week that really stood out to me. So, I think it was late last week that the news broke that Winterlude was going to be a virtual event, and in reacting to that, Steve said, "If there's any disappointment, it's that after 10 or 11 months of this thing, public health still doesn't have a better sense of where the problem areas are." And I read that quote and I really thought about the implications. And certainly we know that COVID-19 case numbers are spiking, and that more measures are inevitable and needed. But it does seem that the only tool that the authorities feel that they have available to them are these incredibly broad restrictions. So when we're speaking to business owners and industry representatives, I'm starting to feel like that there is a lot of frustration out there at the inability to pinpoint and really target transmission hotspots, which seems to be leaving authorities feeling that the only response, the only tool that they have in their toolkit are these really broad sweeping measures that are inevitably causing so much collateral economic damage.
Yeah, it's a good point you made there, Peter. It's this balance of public safety versus businesses continue to operate, and I fear that's going to go on for months and months. But it's not all doom and gloom. Peter, one of the most fascinating aspects of this is while some businesses like Calabogie are suffering in such a profound way, like literally revenues go down to zero, there are some other businesses related to skiing that are recording record sales. So tell us about that, Peter.
Well, in short, demand for cross-country ski equipment is going through the roof. And when it comes to this gear, retailers, well-known names here in Ottawa, such as Kunstad, Fresh Air Experience, and Bushtaka, say that this season is actually ranking among their best, despite the lack of snow on the ground. This trend actually started last summer when bikes started to fly off the shelves because, people were looking for recreation and exercise, opportunities, at a time when maybe, travel, there was more travel restrictions, other recreation opportunities were limited. And it actually seems that many consumers and retailers quickly realized that this trend would continue into the winter, and they rushed to appropriately equip themselves. So, here's just one example. Kunstad told us that they sold $1 million worth of cross-country skis before it had even snowed late last year. Some of the other retailers that OBJ spoke to were eagerly awaiting new shipments of skis and boots in popular sizes because there are some shortages of the gear. And funny enough, it's not just skis. I'm not sure if you've seen fat bikes that started popping up 3, 4, 5 years ago. Those winterized bikes with the really, really large tires. Bushtaka said that they had sold out before Christmas and are continuing to get inquiries almost daily, wondering if customers can place orders. But there is another part of this story beyond just the surging demand that I found really interesting. Some of these retailers told us that they've been able to respond to this opportunity because they've refined their e-commerce operations and become more efficient at fulfilling these curbside pickup orders. So whereas a lot of businesses were understandably caught off guard last spring when they were forced to limit in-store shopping, many more feel now that they're in a more resilient position now to respond to the rapidly to the new restrictions that are often put in place.
Such a good point, Peter, because it's we don't want to suggest anyone's business as usual, right? So they've had to embrace e-commerce tools. They've had to rework their procedures, for curbside pickup. And when it comes to even cross-country skis, you got shoe size, you got length of skis, length of poles, and that type of stuff. So there is some level of customization that needs to go on. So good for them. Good to hear that someone is doing okay in this environment. Dave, we're going to go to you for our last story, and it's a non-pandemic story. The pandemic, of course, is dominating everything these days, but the other business does go on. And I think this is a really kind of cool story, Dave, about someone that came to Canada, I think at the age of 18, and had some entrepreneurial blood flowing through her, pulsing through her veins, and helped her dad set up a business. And now, anyway, the point is she's trying to pay it forward to help other Canadian immigrant entrepreneurs. Tell us about this story, Dave.
Well, that's right, Mike. As you mentioned, Carla Brown is very well-known name in the Ottawa business community. Even though she's still a very young woman, she has already carved out a pretty big niche. She owns a Freshie restaurant. She owns a couple of global pet foods outlets. So she's done very well. But her family moved to Canada from Mexico when she was 18, as you mentioned, with her. And her dad was a veterinarian. She helped him set up his clinic in Vanier. They were hoping for a better life in Canada, and they found it. And now Carla is, as you say, paying that forward. She knows all about the challenges that face immigrant entrepreneurs in Canada. And so she has decided she's going to put that knowledge to good use to in the hope of helping other entrepreneurs maybe avoid some of the issues that she encountered. So she set up an online series of modules, if you will. There's 10 of them, and they each feature various video presentations on topics like writing a business plan, securing financing, hiring the right employees, all those things that every entrepreneur has to know. but that can sometimes be a little difficult for newcomers to Canada because of, differences in business climates between countries, different regulations, all that sort of stuff. Like she says, sometimes entrepreneurs might come to Canada, think they have a great business idea, but it might not necessarily be the right idea for Canada. So she's going to try and help them through these modules come up with the right approach to do business in Canada. And she's also bringing in another cool concept. She's going to have these virtual office hours whereby other successful immigrant entrepreneurs are going to come online and share some of their advice and offer mentorship as well to the people taking part in the module program. Because, like she says, one of the things that immigrants lack the most is a network. They're new here. They don't have all those contacts that people who've lived here for decades have built up. So she really wants to help them get to meet people virtually, at least, expand that network of connections, and really hopefully get set on the path to building a successful business. So she said she's hoping to sign up about 20 students for the first cohort, which has a fee. There is a fee. It's $499. Students can go through the modules at their own pace. And Bruno says she plans to kind of relaunch a new cohort about 4 times a year. And she's just really hoping that this is a way to make immigrants feel like they're not alone and that they do have support as new entrepreneurs in Canada. So yeah, a really cool initiative.
Yeah, great uplifting story to end on. But before we conclude, Peter, we had something I consider to be pretty exciting happen recently, which is the publishing of our winter 2021 quarterly news magazine. So you did hear right, quarterly. We will be publishing in print and digital edition this week, and it was a big, thick 72-page paper. Tell us what was inside of it, Peter.
So I will say one of my favorite features inside the current edition of the news magazine is Ron Corbett's interview with Mark Monahan of Blues Fest. It's a great in-depth look at what Mark went through in 2020, the difficult decision to cancel the concert, how he adapted with the drive-in series, got sponsors on board, and really what his thinking is heading into 2021. So definitely, please check that article out. All sorts of other great features, just really in brief. Dave profiled 4 of Ottawa's top tech firms to be watching in 2021. Caroline Phillips had a great tourism feature on how hotels are really targeting the staycation market. And of course, we have a regular OBJ regional special report taking a look at some of the businesses and economic trends happening across Eastern Ontario. So to check out the quarterly news magazine, you can go to obj.ca, just scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on the thumbnail to read the digital edition.
Yeah, and already thousands of people have done that. So it's exciting to see us publish such a big, robust issue. Peter, congratulations to you and Dave. You played a big role in it, and the broader team that had to come together before Christmas and right after the holidays to make all that happen. Well, listen, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Reminder: this podcast can be watched or listen to in various ways. If you want to watch it, go to YouTube. Be sure to follow and like us. You can also listen to this regular podcast on platforms such as Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, and Twitch. The reminder that if you're looking for your daily dose of local business information, you should visit obj.ca, updated regularly throughout the day. And of course, if you never want to miss a story, the best thing to do is to subscribe to OBJ Today, which is a weekday email newsletter, Monday to Friday. You can once again go to obj.ca/newsletter/sign up. Yeah, please do that. That's all the time we have for today. So on behalf of my colleagues, Peter Kavesi and David Sally, I'm Mike Curran signing off. Hope to see you real soon. Bye-bye.